Thanks again for joining. I know millennials are a fun and interesting group, and we've got probably a millennial to come talk to us about millennials. Pete Miller is with Angi, and he's a strategic partnership account manager. He has been there for a number of years. He's a sales and marketing professional, and he has more than 5 years of experience in the home services industry. He has a great presentation for all of you guys today. We welcome questions, so you can throw them into the chat as he's presenting, and he's promised to address them as you guys pitch them out, so we can make this a little bit engaging for you. And thanks again for joining us, and thank you so much, Pete. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Jennifer. Hey, everybody. Appreciate you joining. Yeah, we'll be talking about marketing to millennials. I am one myself, so if I say the term we, I may be referring to my generation. And yeah, as Jennifer said, if there are any questions as we run through the webinar, feel free to pop them in the chat. I do have it up here on my screen so I can monitor those. And we can, take questions that anybody may have, as we go through, some of this information here. So, we'll be covering, a lot of stuff, some demographic, psychographic data as it relates to millennials, kind of what sets us apart from previous generations, especially as it relates to, our buying behaviors and, kind of the environments that we live in that affect those. And yeah, we'll be talking about how to, obviously best promote your business, your services, to, kind of the newest, major generation into home buying. So without further ado, we can, get into some of the overview stuff here. So today, as it says, our agenda, we're going to be discussing, just a generational overview, what sets us millennials apart from, other generations, how to win jobs with millennials, how to market to millennials, as well as how Angi can help. So to get into the generational overview, millennials are a large group of a generation, arguably a little bit the size of boomers. I know Generation X was, a little bit smaller, but, to kind of go over what those represent, we have, baby boomers born from 1946 to 64, in the 59 to 77 range. Generation X born 65 to 1980 in the 43 to 58 range. And then here we are, millennials, 81 to 96 on those birth years. And we are, in our late 20s, coming up on our early 40s. So definitely a big purchasing, powerhouse, so to speak. We are, like I said, the newest generation to, begin buying homes at a rather large clip. Generation Z is, starting to become of that age, but again, we're going to focus on kind of the meat and potatoes here, this newest generation of home ownership. So to take a look, we are the largest, as it says here, the largest generation, about more than 72 million millennials, occupy that age group. More than half of the nation's population, as we sit now, are either millennial or younger. So definitely a big buying group, definitely, an audience that, you need to get in front of, as a business these days. And we're going to talk about the ways in which you can successfully do that and how to keep the attention of the millennial. We are a fairly educated demographic. 34% of us hold at least a bachelor's degree or higher. Conversely, as it relates to previous generations, Gen X has about a 30% bachelor's degree ratio, and then 15% for the baby boomers. So, definitely the largest group to have considerable education on their belt, so to speak. Obviously, for millennials, there was a big push as we graduated college to, exceed or search out and go to, university. So I think that definitely plays part in, how to best market to a millennial. And then, probably not surprising to most of you, we are very connected. 92% of us spend at least 5 hours online a week, whether that be on, mobile devices, tablets, computers, etc. We are a generation that was, born before the internet really, became, a technology that everybody used, but shortly after we were born, in the 2000s, the world, kind of pivoted towards that as we were growing up. So it is definitely a technology and an information place that we feel comfortable and we spend a lot of time on. So many of the, advice and tactics, best practices are going to be aimed at digital as it relates to keeping the attention of the millennial. Okay, so nearly 1 in 4 millennials report having over $100,000 in savings, so that's about 25%. And over 38% of millennial households make over $100,000 a year. So that, that in perspective means that, of the millennials that own homes, there is definitely some expendable income. And obviously when buying homes, as most people know, there's always going to be a project or something that needs to be done. So, getting in front of that age group for their expendable income as it relates to their home services and, home projects is, definitely an important aspect of your marketing. And some, maybe even some, for some of you, some marketing shifts and some differentiations on how you approach getting in front of these individuals. And then lastly, 48% of older millennials are first-time home buyers. That includes myself. That the house I live in is my first home. I was able to purchase it, just before COVID, so I got in at a very good time considering the market now. And that does represent a lot of millennials. Many millennials did purchase their homes prior to COVID, and prior to the the differentiation in the market currently. So definitely a good base to go after in terms of, improving home equity. And, millennials have a keen sense of understanding, the wealth that they are able to build by buying their first home. Okay. So millennials are the largest home buying group as it stands today. Millennials are projected to buy more than 30 million homes by the end of 2023. And actually, I read a stat, I believe it was from Forbes, and it says, I have the quote here, that 2022 marked the first time that more than 50% of millennials were homeowners. And in 2020 and 2021, many millennials took advantage of low interest rates and increased opportunities for remote work and entered the housing market. So that takes a huge effect into, not only how many millennials during that time were able to purchase homes, but also why they were purchasing homes, right? The work from home model has took hold, for many organizations, and many millennials do work from home. And that does require additional space and, potential additional remodeling that millennials are going to need to, include in their home projects because it is also their workspace. So as you can see here, a 37% increase from 2020. Millennials are really starting to fill out that block, especially as baby boomers are starting to sell their homes and retire. So as many of these houses become available on the market, trends show that this is going to be, in the next 10 years, a huge block of homes owned by this particular age group. Okay. So in 2022, 52% of millennials owned a home. 26%, so about a quarter of them are buying move-in ready homes. I think that's an interesting statistic there because the inverse would be that, 74%, the majority of millennials who buy homes are not buying move-in ready homes. whether that be, down to just simply the furnishing, or, they're buying homes that need work done. And I think that that's the important aspect of this, that many millennials are, finding themselves buying homes that, are undervalued for, a reason that usually involves having an additional work to be done, an unfinished basement, maybe a half finished bath, a kitchen that needs, updating, things of that nature. So, not only are millennials, buying homes, but they're buying homes that need work. And because of that, it is especially important, especially now, to, know how to market to these individuals, to be able to win the projects that they are inevitably going to, put together for their house. And then 85% are buying single family homes, which makes sense. Millennials are, in the 27 to 42 age group. Many of us are starting families, and, need kind of that nest egg, or that, property to be able to raise that family. Me, however, just a little bit of interesting information about myself. I bought a duplex, so I actually do not fit into this category. Me and my wife, we run an Airbnb out of our duplex. But, all of the same, we still need projects done. Our house is not necessarily, new. It's about 100 years old. So, from having plumbing done to electricity to finishing our basement, there's always going to be a need. And I think the same rings for most millennials, in the marketplace. Okay. So looking over, oops, sorry. So looking over some of the trends, and this is data from Angi, from what we've been able to study with our lead generation processes. So millennials currently are spending a tad more than any other generation on home service projects. The baby boomer generation and the silent generation, while the baby boomers do represent a big slice of that pie, and the silent generation is not necessarily a huge slice, but those two groups are spending still decent money on projects in their home. But it's also likely that these generation of homeowners have owned their home for some time, meaning that the projects that they're willing to spend money on may be coming to an end. And you can see that here with the number of projects, much lower in the silent generation and in the baby boomer generation. But with millennials, not only are we buying homes that, come equipped with projects that, are needed to be done, that in turn creates the need for us to invest more of our dollars, to our home, and improving those projects and improving those aspects of our home. To not only have a comfortable living, but to increase the value of our first home, of the investment that, we decided to make to not pay rent anymore. And this is cited from the State of Home Spending. It was a report that Angi put together in 2021 as it relates to some of the numbers that we see, from our network, people that are coming to our site to get home projects done. Okay. So as it relates to kind of some of the psychographic information, millennials born, like it said earlier, from 82 to 96, right? Many of us were probably in middle to high school, maybe a little younger, when 9/11 happened, and that was a big shift in the world. And as well, that was a time when the internet really took off as a means of, communication and finding information. And prior to that, we had the 24-hour news cycle in the 90s that really took hold. And it has kind of created a really not only a tech-driven, but a fast-paced sort of mentality within millennials. We were, born into a world that was, on a J curve, consistently getting faster and faster with information being shared, news headlines, coming to either the TV or the computer. So we are a very fast-paced generation. And because of that, we need to be connected, right? We're always on, many of my fellow millennials will always have, a cell phone in their pocket, or are spending, a lot of time on their laptops, whether that be going through social media, which has become, a fair commerce for both news and, sharing, personal information. But we, are always connected and are always on, and try to be as connected to the world, given these devices and the technology as we can. And with that comes a wide knowledge. There's the phrase that, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes, better than a master of one. Um, we as a generation, have been spread thin to a degree that I think gives us this wide base of knowledge. We know a little about a lot of things. Many of our careers have been not necessarily in line with maybe what we studied at college or what we initially saw our career going as we stepped out into the workforce. So, because of these things, we've been, blessed to have, kind of a wide set of knowledge. And then also with that fast-paced, sort of environment that we work in and that we live in, we also, have become used to instant gratification. Right? When we purchase something, we want to receive it then. We would rather, in most cases, purchase something at a store than wait for it to come in the mail. We very much are rewarded, and we choose our buying behaviors and the folks that we spend money with based on, kind of that instant gratification. And we'll get to why that's important. But, for some of you who, maybe are thinking ahead, that kind of means, speed, right? The speed with which you are able to get in front of a homeowner or a millennial who is, making a request for service or inquiring about your services. We're a generation that really responds best to, the first vendors that may get in contact with us. The millennials are also very collaborative. We're very experience focused. Customer service and communication are very important to, millennial buying behavior. And we're heavily influenced by comfort and ease of purchase. That helps drive our, decision-making process. We're very purpose driven, despite millennials not having the same expendable income, as previous generations. When we do purchase goods or services, we don't purchase frivolously. We purchase with intent and value in mind. We're very careful about our purchasing decisions, and especially as it relates to home services, right? We're very careful with who we decide is going to be working on our home. Great question out of the chat. We have any idea of the Canadian market? That is a great question. From what I would assume is that it wouldn't be too different for millennials in the Canadian market. However, Angi and all of our data is based on the United States. We only operate in the United States, mainly for licensing reasons. So everything we're sharing today is specifically about, United States millennials. However, I wouldn't believe that they would be too different from one another. Okay. And then loyalty. We are a loyal generation as it relates to branding. However, we're not loyal to a fault. When we find brands that meet the needs of our lives, we'll stay with them. There was a study that said that the biggest influence on millennial loyalty is reliability and durability. And that was according to 68% of the respondents during that survey. So we will be loyal, obviously, to specific brands, but that has to come with consistent reliability and durability as it relates to the products and services that we purchase. Ooh. And then we are also a socially conscious generation, probably due to the environment that we grew up in, also with the technologies that we have at hand. But we're a very sharing generation. Social media has become almost a new, word of mouth platform. We have to be able to, speak to our neighbors, speak to our colleagues, our friends about their purchases. It's not necessarily by the mailbox anymore, sitting on your front deck. It's, it's nonstop and it's always, and we're consistently sharing, the value of purchases that we've made and brands that we trust and we find reputable. And we're connected. Like I said earlier, we have the ability to communicate with our peers and our, fellow generation all the time. Word of mouth has now become a constant. It's, like I said, it's not just in the evening when your neighbor's arriving home. It is, forever. We can always communicate with even people that we don't know, but that are maybe in a similar situation as us. They're buying their first home. There's projects that need to be done. And even from a local perspective, I would definitely take one of my neighbors' suggestions on, a contractor to work with based on their experience, right? My neighbor probably has a similar house as mine. Maybe it's a similar, date of built. And, if they have a problem that I had and they have a contractor that they suggest, I'm likely to listen to that. And because of that, we're very interdependent, right? We rely on each other as a generation, to get by. What companies can we trust? What companies can't we trust? We very much are influenced by, the opinions of other millennials. So, that word of mouth just becomes even stronger with our generation because we very much value the opinions of our peers. And then, personal freedom. Our generation, although maybe not too different from previous generations, but we work to live and we don't live to work. We although we're sometimes busy, and highly active, sometimes even having side hustles, maybe multiple jobs, we very much value our free time. And, where is free time best spent than in the home? If we value free time to that degree, we're also going to value the places in which we spend that free time. And especially if you're like me, my home is my nest egg, it's where I relax and it's where I want to be comfortable. So, I'm more prone to spend, decent money on making my house not only more valuable, but more comfortable for my family. Okay. So to put that into action, how do we win jobs with millennials? So we've found that response speed and transparency very much matters when marketing to millennials and when and attempting to win those jobs. So 22% of millennials expect a response within 10 minutes. If there's an inquiry about, a service, especially in the home services space, we would expect that the company that we would potentially choose is going to at least get in touch with us in one way, shape, or form within the first 10 minutes of us making an inquiry. Even if it is calling and leaving a voicemail, which is, maybe the rarer side of how a millennial might communicate, we still would want to hear a response back. So responsiveness and the response speed is paramount to winning jobs with millennials. Additionally, 50% of sales go to the first pro to contact the homeowner or to the customer. And that rings true with partners that I work with, the contractors that I work with specifically. I've worked with many of them to help increase their time response to an inquiry that comes in for a project. And the proof is in the pudding. The data shows that they are winning more jobs the more quickly that they're getting in touch with the homeowner who's made a request. Obviously, because millennials are busy, we have a lot going on and we're connected. It is important to get in touch with that person, even if it is to say, hey, we got your inquiry. We appreciate your request. We'll be getting in touch with you soon. Just that little message goes a mile, with a homeowner, just to expect that contact. And then 94% of consumers that are millennials are likely to be loyal to transparent brands. Obviously brand equity is very important to us, and how that brand communicates is very important. We like to understand everything that we're getting into, especially in a complicated industry like home services. If it wasn't for the fact that I've worked in the industry from the marketing side for some time now, I probably wouldn't know how to do almost anything in my home. The only reason I do is frankly because I work in the space and I became curious, but not all millennials are privy to how to fix things in their home. And they want an understanding of, if you're going to do some work on their home, what to expect, what the outcome's going to be, what processes need to take place in order to complete the job, as well as timeline, realistic expectations on timelines, and everything that goes into completing a project. So, having that strong communication and being very consistent with your communication to millennials is also super important to, not only win that initial job, but potentially become a lifetime servicer to that millennial. Okay, what impacts the size and quality of my leads? So obviously, all things digital, right? We're a very digitally connected generation. So, professional branding from the logo to the website, your position in Google, your SEO, your SEM, your ability to capitalize on folks, searching for the services that you provide. Lead generation services, of course, not all homeowners are necessarily, doing that research themselves. Many homeowners like to submit a request through any, lead generation site to be connected with various pros. Angi, obviously is a provider of that. And then across the board, reviews and profiles have become such a crucial part to winning a job with millennials. Again, because we want to see that people in our community, especially as it relates to reviews, are, having positive interactions with your company, with your brand. They're satisfied with communication. They're satisfied with the quality of the work. So seeing reviews and bountiful reviews, on any profile, on your website, cross-marketing all of the above is a powerful way to catch the eye and win jobs with millennials. Okay, so build trust and manage your online presence. So building trust is going to involve these first 2 points. So building trust involves responding to every review, good or bad. Again, millennials very much are influenced by the communication of a brand that they wish to potentially purchase. And they like to see not only that you have the reviews, but that you're active in the outreach to the reviews. Striving, like it says, striving for resolution in your response to negative reviews is also extremely important. As millennials, we understand the nature of leaving reviews, right? Because the internet has allowed everybody to speak their voice. We understand that some reviews that are negative may not be necessarily the whole picture. And so providing that context by responding to a negative review, and even if the negative review was true, we like to see that we're working potentially with a company that likes to make amends, that, will right a wrong. So, being a participant in the review process is a very strong way to build that trust within your brand. And then also being the expert, right? Showing that professionalism and expertise in all your responses. When a sales guy is, a salesperson is maybe going out to an estimate, having him equipped with all of the necessary information on how to educate that customer and how to complete the job is extremely important. Again, because millennials are very curious. These are our first homes. We're going to have a lot of questions as it relates to our home projects, because it's likely this is the first time we've remodeled our kitchen or, had flooring put in. These are projects that are new to us. And so we may need a decent amount of education to make that purchasing decision from the vendor that we potentially will choose. And then conversely, managing your online presence. So not only is it important to have reviews, on your profiles, on your website, through Google, etc. It's also important to be retroactively trying to get new reviews. So requesting reviews often and asking every single customer for a review is the best way to ensure, that you're consistently getting new reviews that you can, promote and publish. That also helps with your SEO, your SEM, is that you're having, these words, say a homeowner had a project that was done recently, they talk about the project in their review. That's included in obviously your website SEO and other cross-marketing channels. So, being consistent with that is always going to help you, rise to the top of brands that are noticed because they see that customers are consistently working with you and leaving reviews. And then reminding homeowners of outstanding requests, communication, right? The consistent communication with the homeowner. Maybe they haven't responded back to you about, their scheduled appointment. It's not overbearing to our generation to follow up on unanswered emails, unanswered questions through text message, unanswered phone calls. We're busy. We're, in my opinion, not a generation that gets annoyed or agitated by too much contact because we're used to that already. So being a brand that is consistent in your communication is the best way to stay top of mind, especially if a homeowner is, mulling over a decision. You want to stay in front of them as much as possible. So, having that constant communication and that outreach is very pivotal to winning these jobs. And then keeping it fresh. Homeowners love, like I said, those recent reviews. They want to see that your company is actively working and actively completing jobs that are being given 5-star reviews in their community. If I, get on maybe a homeowner's, or I'm sorry, a contractor's profile that hasn't had a review since 2021, I might think to myself, well, maybe they stopped, doing residential work. Maybe they, aren't, in business anymore. I may not be sure. So having that consistent review process in place will make sure that your reviews and ratings are fresh and are new and are, consistent as possible. Okay. And so marketing to millennials, obviously we're going to talk about, best practices in terms of making sure that millennials are seeing your brand and seeing the value in your brand. So 95% of all homeowners, and this is all homeowners, not necessarily just millennials, but everybody essentially goes online to do research, to research options before hiring a pro. So your business, I'm sure many, if not all, of the attendees to this webinar do have a website, but millennials are online and they expect you to be also. So because many of you probably do have a website, I would suggest, using the technology that often comes with, online presence. Many website developers offer, ability to have, a chat bubble pop up or, a place where you can request information and get an email or a text message immediately. So not only having that online presence, but making it actionable, finding the pathways for a homeowner to be able to communicate with you, assuming that they're not going to pick up the phone and call. Unfortunately, myself, I do like to do my own research, but most millennials and most homeowners really they would rather, submit a request for further information and be contacted at a later time. So having that online presence, but also having the tools to, communicate immediately to whoever may visit that website. And then producing high quality content. So with the kind of generation shift as it relates to technology and the tools that we have at hand to influence our buying decisions, content has become tremendously valuable in terms of creating that brand equity and providing that trust in your brand. Um, you know, using, blog posts, making, posts on Instagram, social media that are more content driven rather than, promoting a sale or something of that nature tends to create more value in your brand than a simple, sales pitch. Have done this even myself. There's a lot of cool tools now with AI that are able to, produce content for you, right? You don't even have to, in this day and age, have somebody in-house that writes content for you. You can use many AI tools, Chat GPT to name one, to essentially build content. For example, if you're an HVAC company and you want to put together an article or a little blog post of top 10 tips to stay warm in the winter. AI will be able to spit out a pretty solid blog post for you, and you can put that on your site, and you can do that on a regular basis. That's going to be something, again, that improves your organic SEO, but also shows that you're a thought leader within the space, that you provide more than just the services that your company provides. You're a brand that wants to make sure that people are educated that are your customers, and oftentimes they will come back for additional services if that's the brand that you are putting forth. Using photos, obviously, to showcase your work, before and after photos, obviously including that within any marketing that you do on your website, on your social medias. Photos are very important, but to take it a step further, I would say that photo quality has become very important. Oftentimes we all have iPhones or Androids, maybe a mobile device that can take a high quality picture. However, millennials want to see a little bit more than that, making sure that the lighting is good, potentially making sure that in a before or after photo that the camera's in the exact same spot as it was before. So that way, a homeowner that's potentially choosing your company for work can see, the quality of work that you do.
Hey Pete, I'm popping in really quick
Yes.
to, Julie asked a great question, wonders, she was asking about stats on video versus static content. I know you're getting into the video. I just saw that pop up on your next slide, but I'm sure she's thinking about what you were just talking about as well. So if you could address
Sure.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that. Yeah, Julie. So, stats on video versus static content. I don't necessarily have any specifics that we've studied. Obviously with video and social medias like TikTok, I think, frankly, TikTok itself is kind of probably changing the landscape in which people engage with brands via video. Obviously YouTube, has been a historical place for businesses to promote themselves, upload their videos, even do advertising through the digital space with YouTube. But I would say, from my perspective, that video content is on the rise in terms of its engagement and its ability to, build that trust in that brand. And especially through TikTok, the way in which their platform is organized, it's very easy to connect to a brand via their channel. And again, TikTok is on your phone, people are scrolling through. I mean, even personally, I have a TikTok account. I can find myself scrolling mindlessly through videos. But what TikTok does know about me is that I'm in the industry, that I, obviously am connected with many contractors. And so their algorithm does feed me, I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. They feed me my local pros that are doing content, and they'll even do educational content. Like I said, they won't even be promoting necessarily a service that they offer. They'll just be giving tips and tricks around the home to, help avoid a leaky faucet, or, DIY projects for your own flooring. They're literally a flooring company giving you tips on how to do your own floor. And I think that provides that value and provides that trust within video. And I think video is a great place to be able to engage with folks. And then again, with video, like I said, Facebook, obviously, YouTube, TikTok, Reels on Instagram, powerful ways to reach millennials, because that is where we spend a lot of our time. And like I said, with YouTube, obviously it's a paid advertisement, but again, many millennials, we watch a lot of content on YouTube. Some of our favorite shows may be on YouTube, and they do have a fair advertising platform that allows you to put in video advertisements, 15-second snippets, that folks will watch on YouTube. So utilizing video technology, I think, is going to be not only now an important avenue to explore, but will continue to be in the next 10, 15. Okay, 75% of buyers rate professional business photos as very influential when deciding whether or not to purchase a product or service online. Like I said, professional photography can help you stand out from your competition. And again, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you have to, hire a professional photographer. But looking at the little things, understanding lighting when you're taking a photo, again, everybody, for the most part, has a very high quality camera, attached to your cell device. But making sure that, the image isn't blurry, and it's consistent, especially in the before and after photos with the same angle so that homeowners can really see that transformation of a project, I think are much more vital than they ever have been because people want to be able to differentiate between, me posting my house on my, Instagram account of some work that I did versus something that was done by professionals. I think that the quality of the image should match the quality of the project to really portray, what that brand is going to be bringing to the table. Okay. And then obviously, like we've been talking about, showing off your work. I don't think there is such a thing as too much. I encourage all of my partners and their networks to essentially be taking photos of every single project. You may not, post them, but the more pictures and images and content that you capture, the more you have to choose from as it relates to showing off your work. So, obviously we know Facebook is very popular. It's the, third most visited website. Instagram, 59% of millennials are active users. I laugh sometimes. Instagram has become the millennial sort of social media. Gen Z doesn't use Instagram that much, nor does Gen X, but this is really the big pocket of millennials. So, putting videos out on Reels and maintaining your own social media presence is very, very important. YouTube, like we talked about, very heavily visited site. People spend hours, watching their favorite content on YouTube. 54% of us visit YouTube every day. That strikes true for me. There's always some video I need to watch. And then TikTok, the newest kind of platform in the social media family. 21% of millennials are using TikTok. 39 billion home reno hashtag views. And again, I see that a lot, mainly because I'm in the industry and I'm often doing my own DIY projects, but I see a lot of home renovation content, whether it be promoted content or simply, other people doing their projects as well. It has, at least for me, become a source of, generating ideas on how to fix my home, whether that be doing it myself or hiring out. So, you want to be on top of that. And then more importantly, as we progress in the next 10 years, millennials are going to become, from, 27 to 42, in the next 10 years, we'll be 37 to 52. And the generation after us will very likely continue these trends on how we communicate with and find trust in brands. And so I believe, in my opinion, that TikTok is going to continue to rise in its engagement, barring anything stopping them from doing that. But I think that TikTok is a great place to, at least right now, obviously showcase your work and grab the attention of millennials as well. Okay. So I am going to turn it over to Joe. Joe Wood is a national account executive over here at Angi. Before I do, I wanted to give some time for any, last minute questions, potentially in the chat as it relates to millennials or any of the information we went over today. Okay, good deal. So yeah, without further ado, Joe Wood is here to walk through kind of what Angie can do to help in these regards, and what our solutions are.
All right. Well, thanks for the intro, Pete. So how Angie can help, that's where I come in, the national account executive here. So I've been with the company about 9 years. So you'll definitely have a wealth of knowledge at your disposal here. I help with the onboarding process mainly. And so, what we try to do there is, figure out the types of jobs that you want to see, the areas that you want to go into, and then, we'll filter those over to you in real time as they come through. And so first thing they're going to be able to see when they get matched up with you is the profile. So we'll go to the next slide here. So we'll help facilitate this online presence. As you can see, it's a snippet of a profile. You'll want to upload pictures, reviews, and I'll help you out with all of that. And then when you do get matched up to the customer, we want to go to the next slide here. So the company that typically is going to win the attention is the one who makes the meaningful, trusted connection. I will throw speed to lead in there. That's going to be really important to our homeowners. So just your normal selling process, as soon as we get that customer over. And then a big part of winning them over is going to be, the profile, as we said, before and after pictures, recent photos. They do like looking at some sort of job that they've done so they know what type of work that you're capable of. Also offer a deal. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Could be something as simple as like $100 off, 5% for a new customer. Whatever the case may be, if you do have some sort of offer, it's going to make your profile stand out. And then describe your products. You can list some brands that you're affiliated with, also that you are with Build Exact and part of this program here. And then humanize your brand. It's going to be important to put that personal touch on the profile. So we've learned that having a profile picture with yourself or your family or your employees can go a long way. And about you, anything to give it that personal touch to make you more human in their eyes. And then check out your competition. I'm sure most of you guys are probably just aware of your competition already, but if you want to take a look at their profile, see what ways that they're promoting themselves, how you can stand out from them. And then I think number 6 is really important here of showing off your accomplishments. If you've done something great or won some sort of award, the customers do want to see that. And that's going to translate to more projects. Most of you probably have websites or, social media platforms, so we can also link those here. If a customer wants to learn more about you, then they can, go to those links. And then if we go, so I think this is a really important stat. Pete had obviously emphasized the importance of, marketing to millennials. And the majority, 4 out of 5 are reading reviews before they make any purchase. Having that complete profile with the pictures and reviews are more likely to convert leads by 3x. So you can see the obvious importance there. One thing I will say on this is that you don't have to totally start from scratch. So part of my onboarding process is to acquire some reviews for you. So we're able to import Google reviews, your most recent 5, if you have those. Also, if you have any customers that you've recently done work for that would give you a 5-star review, I can get their contact information. We'll reach out. So the point here is you don't have to totally start with 0 reviews, because we know how important those are, and I'll help you obtain those. And then, sort of pull it all together here, maximize your online presence. We've, emphasized that, really driven that home. Be the expert in your field. Be sure to communicate quickly, with speed and transparency. And if you're able to do these things, with our help, I think it will be very successful for you. And then last slide here. So as Build Exact pros, you do get special deal terms. So I do want to touch on that. The typical membership fee to be on board with us to even have a profile is $288 per year. You do get that waived as a part of this partnership. So you get that waived membership. You'll get discounted rates on referrals. And then you get an 8% rebate quarterly for whatever you spend, and that goes on forever. So obviously significant offers that they came up with here for you. And then these here's my contact info, if you want to reach out, have any questions, or are, simply ready to get started. And thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you so much, Joe and Pete. Great presentation. I learned a lot about the Millennials. And Joe, thank you for talking about the program with Angi. It's a great value and also a great lead referral place. So take advantage of that when you guys can. And Joe's email is right there, jlwood@angi.com, so you can get in touch with him. And we will be sending out the recording of the presentation within the next day. Thank you guys again for joining us today, and thank you so much for the great presentation.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.